All right. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Physical and Financial Fitness with Patrick. It's where we work out in my garage gym and talk about financial intelligence and investment strategy while we try to change our bodies for the better. Good morning, Andy. Andy has to run to the post office to mail the taxes. Fun times, fun times. But good morning. Excuse me. One of those mornings. We got a bit of a chilly morning this morning, which is good. Here in San Diego, I like a nice, crisp, chill morning. Supposed to get a lot warmer later, but for now, it's nice and chilly. What's up, Mr. Justin Streeper? How you doing, buddy? Good to see you. How'd you like the conference, brother? I know you attended that. You're going to get the recordings here pretty quick when we get those all procured. But how'd you like the conference? You need to go over. You missed a lot of it. Yeah, it's all right, dude. That's why we get the recordings going. You're going to get those and be able to kind of soak things in. I really enjoyed it. I thought we did a good job for running that new software program for the first time. It was a pain in the butt, but it was a pain in the butt, but I think it went pretty good for the most part. We had some really good speakers on there. That's why we work with a lot of those people. Yeah. Oh snap, dude. Oh Streeper, you, your wife and I had your child 3 weeks early this weekend. Oh man, congratulations, dude. Oh, dude, that is so cool. Wow. That is so cool. Holy smokes. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Streeper had his baby. No way. 3 weeks early. That's so legit. Holy smokes. Oh, that's so cool, man. Everyone's healthy. Is it a boy or a girl? Is it a boy or a girl? That's so funny that it's so weird. Sometimes my YouTube uh shows that there's 0 people watching, but then somebody like Streeper, you'll make a comment in there and I can see your comment. It just doesn't show anybody that's on my live. How funny is that? Dude, that's so cool. That is so cool. Well, is it a boy or a girl that you had? A boy, Justin Joseph. Oh man. Ah, good for you, dude. That is so badass. Oh, I'm so excited for you, dude. Well done, man. 3 weeks early, huh? That little son of a cracker didn't want to stay in there. He said, I've been nice and warm and cuddly in this womb long enough. I got to go check out what this world's all about, huh? You got an excited little one. Wow. That is so cool, dude. Unbelievable. Well, congratulations, my bro. That is amazing. Amazing news. How funny. The little dude didn't want to stay in there, huh? He's like, I'm out of here, dude. This is lame. He said 3 weeks. What? 3 weeks, nothing. Ah, 3 weeks, nothing. I'm out of here. And he said, what's up, world? Oh, good for that. Good for you, dude. Awesome that everybody's safe and healthy. Uh, yeah, wifey's going good. Oh, that's pretty damn cool too. What's up with all this badass news this morning, dude? Are we having like a YouTube revelation or what, dude? Blaster came in, said he's officially drug free, free from pornography. God is good. Well, hey, anything that prevents us from making bad decisions, anything that brings us joy, these are all the good things we want to concentrate on for sure. Having new babies, being drug free. Dude, I could end the show right now and I'd be the happiest camper on the planet there, Justin Streeper. And you folks that are finding new ways to be sober and get rid of bad habits that may have been dragging you down. What a day it is already, man. I could end this live and just be happy as heck and work out and think all about how nice life is and how blessed we are. Justin having his baby 3 weeks early. People are getting sober, stopping bad habits. I must have the right crew of people coming on my live in the morning, don't I? I must have the right crew of you good, fine people. Ain't no doubt about that. All right. So we gonna get rid of my cameraman because I'm getting all set up here. We got to get our workout in. This is one of those days I didn't feel like doing this. But I'm sure glad I did now that I'm getting all this good news from you guys. So cool. It's one of those mornings where it's like a little chilly and I was just a little tired, so I wanted to sleep in. I didn't want to work out today. But that's when you know you got to force yourself to do it because it's usually after the first like couple sets that my whole body warms up and my brain gets out of its fog. Oh, you know why? That's why. I'm like, why am I so foggy? Now I need to get back in shape. Yes, sir, man. So that's kind of one of the things that I did. Blaster, like if you don't know my channel, I'm not sure if you've been here before or not, but yeah, like 2 years ago, man, I decided to go against all my bad habits that were killing me slowly. And I was starting to have a huge beer belly and I just looked like a fat old dad. It was horrible. It just didn't, it wasn't me, you know? And I had just gotten finally mentally fed up with it, which is kind of what it takes, right? It takes for us to get mentally fed up with it. Not, people could tell us you need to stop doing drugs. People could tell us you need to stop drinking. People could tell us you need to stop overeating. People would tell us we should start working out. People, yeah, right. They could tell you you should quit smoking cigarettes or whatever it is. You know damn well it doesn't matter what anybody says. But until you make this mental commitment to where you want to really make the shift, then shit starts to happen for you. So I'm glad you're making these decisions, Blaster. We come on here in the mornings. We try to motivate each other to be in our best physical shape and our best financial shape that we can possibly be in. That's the whole theory of this channel. Well, at least my morning lives. But I'm going to do some more with the channel and start laying down some real nuggets. But the bottom line is, man, I needed to make some changes myself. So I started to work out in my little garage gym here. We call it the dungeon. And I started working out in the mornings. And I was listening to financial knowledge myself. So, give you guys an idea. 2 years ago, when I started the fitness routine and I started working out every morning in this little garage gym I built, uh, it was just to get my ass back in shape. And so I was in here and I would be having my earbuds on or my Bluetooth speaker playing in the background. And what I was doing, guys, for a long time was listening to others' podcasts, YouTube videos, world currency, world events, world economics, cryptocurrencies, blockchain, you name it, guys. I was trying to just educate myself because I knew I'd be working out for at least an hour down here in my garage gym. And so I would put my earbuds in or whatever and listen to that stuff. So I was getting all this financial education. And after a while, since I'm a fund manager and I do know a little bit about creating some passive cash flow, those kinds of things, I thought, you know what? Let's switch it up, man. Instead of me listening to everybody else's content now, let's go ahead and let me offer some value and some motivation to others. And so I flipped my phone around and pushed the live button a while back. And so now I go live every morning, Monday through Friday, and we talk physical and financial fitness here. We try to get in our best physical shape, best financial shape, and support each other in that manner. Dexter, what's up, dude? Streeper had his baby. You look in them comments? Yeah, boy. Streeper had his baby 3 weeks early, dude. A little boy. Justin Joseph came into the world 3 weeks early. He said, I'm out of here, bro. I'm getting out there to this thing called life. I'm going to check this out. Climbed right on out quick. So congratulations to Streeper. Yep, I know Dexter. Dexter's going to be excited about that. I know Dexter. Yep. So cool. So cool. How old is Streeper? How old is Streeper? How old are you, Justin? I'm curious. I don't even know how old you are. How many kids maybe you already have or don't have. Ah, that's so cool though. Oh man, a new baby, a new boy. Bethany wants me. My wife wants me to have a boy. She wants me to try to have another child so bad. But I'm getting old. I'm getting old for the baby game. You know what I mean? Hmm. Let's see. What's up, dude? He's a young stud. More to come. Hell yeah, dude. Streeper, you're 30. Okay, cool. So you're chill, dude. I'm 46 and I'm 46 and have a 2-year old. And my wife's going, should we have another? Should we have another? Should we try for a boy? And I'm thinking, oh man, I don't know. It kind of scares me. Oh, hey, Blaster. Actually, my biggest thing right now is figuring out my plan to financial freedom. Yeah, I'm telling you what, man. It's weird how when you get in shape, and it's weird how when you start working out every day and you do this consistently, it's weird how that tends to start to help you. It really does. It starts to help you in your financial life as well. Not only do other people look at you different, respect you differently, when you go into a room as a fat, chubby guy with man boobs and a beer belly, don't kind of demand the same respect or attention as somebody who walks in as a man who's physically fit and is carved up and has some muscles and things like that. So people look at you different, people treat you different. Uh, Gosh, you have a lot more energy, you get more confidence, and with more energy, more confidence, and people looking at you in a different light, sometimes even getting financially fit becomes easier. So that's why we kind of do all this at the same time. Sweating and breathing hard. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely. Streeper, first kid, I wanted to be financially stable first. So I got a house and a good paying job. Well, there you go. There you go. And Blaster wants some financial freedom. Well, let's go. That's what we're here about. So let's talk about some of these things, guys. I was going to work out today and just get my pull day in. I took a few days off. We're right in the middle. Well, not in the middle, but we're still in somewhat of the beginning of a 60-day six-pack challenge. I would say this is like day 15, I believe. Uh, I don't know if that's exact, but I believe it's day 15. So it's day 15 of what we said was going to be the 60-day six-pack challenge. So we're into that. I'm trying to stick to my diet. Uh, I made a decent amount of money from XRP. Has nothing to do with financial freedom because I didn't have any steps beyond buying it and selling it. Well, that's pretty cool. Decent amount of money. I bought some XRP at like 49 cents. I bought some XRP at like 49 cents. Um, but I'm a long-term hold guy. My whole theory is to see what XRP will be worth in 2029. That's always been my theory. I started buying it in 2021. Can you believe that kind of mindset? Buy it in 2021. I was DCAing in the whole time, but buying a lot. And then I just keep telling all my friends and family and all that the ups and downs are all good. Wait till you see what XRP is worth in 2029. So that's been my plan the whole time, and we'll see if I was right or if I'm a smart guy or if I'm an idiot. But hey, oh well, we'll see. I believe XRP is going to be one of the big parts of the new financial system. Now, I don't know how much that makes XRP coins worth, but it's got to be more. Especially now, it's a good time to buy again. But yeah, it's interesting how there's these financial lessons that we've all been taught when we're talking about building financial freedom and becoming more wealthy. Look how wrinkly my sweatshirt is too. How funny is that? Um, when we're talking about financial freedom and we're talking about understanding money more, right? This is the knowledge of how money really works, what money really is, how money's really supposed to be used, and these kinds of philosophies. It's interesting when we look back at oh, I see. Hold on a second, dude. Dexter, you're home working on your travel biz and travel coming up soon. Good for you, buddy. Thank you for the update. Appreciate that. Too funny. When we're trying to, think about the way money works and how to become more financially intelligent and stuff like that, one of the things that's funny I look at because this lady, Pamela Wakefield spoke at the cash flow conference that I co-hosted over the weekend, which went really well. Streeper was there and all, but you know, Angela Wakefield is more of a mindset coach. And so we had a financial conference, real estate investing related, but it's funny, we had a mindset coach on there too that talks about overcoming past issues and overcoming struggles and mindset blocks and those kinds of things that prevent us from um, really attaining wealth. We have these blockers where no matter how hard we work, no matter what we do, we just can't seem to get ahead. We can't seem to build wealth, and a lot of it is attributed from the financial lessons that have been taught to us over many years now, maybe even several generations now. The lessons that have been passed down, and these cliched statements and these ways of thinking, I guess, is the best way to say it. But that have really been a very much a hindrance when the people teaching us these lessons and the people passing these lessons down to us thought that they were being helpful. So we don't blame the generations prior. We have to blame who taught them those lessons, and so they pass them down to us. And so I thought we would just jab those things up today and just crack up about it a little bit because it's so crazy how the brainwashing is real. The brainwashing is so real, you guys, with with how hard it should be or should not be to get wealthy, gain more wealth, and gather some more uh, shekels for your family, as they say. Yeah. So let's talk about the one guys. I have them on my little laptop screen over here so I can take a look and remind me of them. But we got like 10 of them we're going to go through, and we'll see if you adhere to any of these. And the idea of what when Pamela Wakefield spoke in our conference, she was breaking these things down to see if do you really believe them? Do these things trigger you? Do you remember these? Do you remember who told you these things? And those kinds of things and really breaking down how we kind of remove those from our subconscious because sometimes what we believe in our subconscious obviously creates the world around us because subconsciously we would like to get wealthy but subconsciously we don't think we deserve it or we don't think we can get there or we don't think we're not one of those people with money, and this is something that's a mental block a lot of times passed down from generations prior. One of those is pay off your house as quickly as possible. That's one of those things, guys, that we've been taught. That's a great scene I have for you too. A great scene of my pressure washer. I'm so classy with this live in the mornings. I swearsies. Uh, sorry. So, uh, good thing I don't claim to be classy in my garage gym, huh, guys? So, how about that? Pay your house off. Best thing you can have is a paid off house. Who has heard that before? Have you guys heard that paying off your house is one of the smartest things that you can possibly do? Having a paid off house, boy. Who's heard that before? And why do you think that is a bad lesson? Do you guys understand why maybe that having a paid off house is not a good way to become wealthy or financially free? Yeah, sometimes Streeper, we're overthinking things and second guessing things. You're not taking action. And a lot of that happens because of fear, animosity, uh, non-belief in yourself, lack of confidence, and some of this stuff that's inside of us. The point of today's discussion is because some of this stuff that's inside of us is not because that's really how we would operate or how we would act unless there were these financial lessons and there were these I want to call them financial myths, but they were lessons that our grandparents and parents thought that they were passing down to us that were very, very good, smart lessons. So they had our success in mind. The grandparents and parents want to see the best for us. So they're trying to teach us these lessons like, get yourself a house, and having a paid off house, having a completely paid off house with no debt is what you really want to shoot for. Okay. And maybe that's pretty bad advice, actually. But why is having a paid off house? Blaster said, yep, you still got to pay property taxes. And that pisses me off. Well, certainly. But the even with and guys, that's a whole nother conversation, right? But even with the property taxes and all the upkeep and maintenance and liability, everything that comes along with owning a house, that's a whole different show, right? But you're on the right track. I mean, that's obviously one of the reasons. But uh, why why though? We're talking about the mortgage, right? The mortgage debt. We were taught to pay off the mortgage debt. Don't be in debt, right? And that's another caveat that we'll get into here with the whole debt statement. But paying off your house. The house you're living in, which is a liability, not an asset, generally. Okay. The house you're living in, which is a liability and not an asset, you have financing on it, right? There's debt on that house. But a lot of our elders, especially in the last two generations, parents and grandparents, were convinced that owning your own home was one of the best investments in the world, and that owning your own home was even better if you didn't have any debt associated to that home, if it was completely paid off. So you didn't have any monthly mortgage payment. Wouldn't that just make life swell? So kind of sold the American dream, right? To have the house with the picket fence and the car that you normally couldn't afford, buy them both through financing. Good ploy by the bank to get people to come start borrowing a bunch of money, right? Give them the ability to buy houses they can't afford on long-term financing. Give them a car they can't afford on long-term financing, and they've achieved the American dream. And if you could just work your whole life and figure out how to pay off that house and how to pay off that car, boy, wouldn't that be a great life at the end of it? You'd have this beautiful paid off house and this beautiful paid off car. But why is that a little backwards, guys? Because a house that you live in is a liability, not meant to be an investment. House you live in is meant to be a liability. And why do we call it a liability? Because you do have the ownership liability, you do have the maintenance and the upkeep, you do have the property taxes, you do have the cleaning, you do have the gardening, you do have the swimming pool, you do have the sprinkler systems, you do have the electric bill, you do have, I mean, so when you look at a house, houses are a very big expense. Of course, we all need a roof over our head, sure. But home ownership is a very expensive endeavor and mostly thought of as a liability when generations prior were taught that it was one of the best investments that you could ever do in life would be to go get you a 30-year mortgage and buy a house. But here's the difference of what I'm trying to tell people is this. We did a plan and we put it on paper using a calculator. I was with one of my students and my mentor, Desi, and we were breaking this stuff down. And we figured out that I think somebody was, how old were they? Somebody was 50 years old. Let me just give you this scenario. Somebody was like 50 years old, and they were talking about they only had like 15 years left to pay on their mortgage. They had tons of equity, but they had like 15 years left to pay off their mortgage. Their house was 2 or 3 times worth what they owed to the bank at this time, and they had 15 years left to pay off their mortgage. One of the big deals was that was a part of their financial plan was, if I work real hard and I continue to be very diligent at this, in 15 years from now, I'll have a paid off house. That was the plan. And fair enough. And so I guess the question that arose based on the math, which is really interesting, the question that arose based on the math was, would you rather have a fully paid off house that you own outright with no debt? Would you rather have that 15 years from now? Or would you rather have that same thing, a paid off house with no debt and $1 million in the bank? What would be better for you? So obviously, that's a stupid question, right? We all know the answer. In 15 years' time, would you rather have a paid off house? Or in 15 years' time, would you rather have a paid off house and $1 million in the bank? It was like option two all day long, right? Of course, Dexter. It's just, not a trick question. Pretty simple to understand what somebody would rather have if they could make the choice. Would you rather have a paid off house in 30 or in 15 years from now, or in 15 years from now, would you rather have a paid off house and $1 million? Okay, we get the answer. Well, If that individual would continue to just use that house as a place to live, not a leverageable asset, but just a house as a place to live, continue paying all the expenses and having all the liabilities, and all the while, too, paying the mortgage payment back with interest from hard earned money and working and notching that away for 15 years. And yep, sir, after 15 years, that house would be paid off and someone's achieved their dream. Boy, I finally own my house and it's paid off. Well, if somebody would have just not considered that as a focus of working hard, making more money, and taking more Friday paycheck to pay down the mortgage over 15 years now, paid off house. Rather, the house had tons and tons and tons of equity. You guys owed like 400 grand, I think, still, or something like that. Yeah, I think owed like 400 grand, and the house was worth like 900,000. Okay, so they owed 400 grand. The house was worth 900 grand, and we were looking at this situation they were in, and looking at this thing called leverage. And you guys know that we all learned the leverage story probably when we were young kids in science or mathematics class. Leverage of an actual lever, right? You saw like one person try to push a boulder and it just wouldn't move, but that same one person went and got a huge stick, stuck it into the boulder and pulled it like this and used leverage, and that moved the stone. So we understand leverage, okay, from a simple standpoint. But what about financial leverage? Well, in 15 years, that person could just notch away and pay off the house. Or that person who owed 400,000 on the house, yeah, 40% LTV. The person that owed 400 grand on the house and had that much equity, house being worth 900,000, there is a lot of equity there. Equity being fake money on paper, unless you liquidate that money and make it real and tangible. Equity is just fictitious money on paper. We know that everybody's equity got wiped out like it didn't exist when the market crashed in 2008. Everybody had all this equity and thought they were rich, and then the equity went foop, gone, like it never existed. So what I'm saying is here you're having this equity sit there, which is leverageable. And what do we say about leverage? Does it make the boulder easier to move when we use a lever and use leverage? Sure. So when we talk about financial leverage, is it easier to become wealthy faster by trying to push it all yourself? Or is it easier to become wealthy faster by somehow using some sort of leverage, somehow finding some big stick and sticking it in there and then using that? Boom. Now you're moving boulders, right? Good morning, NJ. How are you? Good to see you. I haven't linked up with your bro yet, so make sure you talk to him today and tell him I'll be available today. And if he just sends me a text message here sometime this morning, I'll let him know when we can talk today. But it'd be nice to get on that call to talk to him. I know he wanted to do that. And good morning. Good to see you. Congratulate Justin Streeper. He had a baby 3 weeks early over the weekend. His young boy, his baby decided to crawl out, NJ. So he wasn't due for it till 3 weeks from now, but he said, "No, I'm out of here." Um, yeah, Blaster, they pull the markets. And so that's what I mean, guys, is that we cannot be tied down to thinking that having a paid off house is a really good thing, because having a paid off house is one thing, but along the way, people don't realize that you can utilize that as leverage. And when we talk about leverage, we're talking about making it easier to move boulders, right? Um, NJ says, congratulations to you, Streeper. So let's talk about that leverage component. Well, we did some math and we figured out that if that person was to leverage some of their equity and put their equity to work in an investment that was producing a certain amount of yield, and we kind of made a plan moving forward how we would leverage the equity in the house and so forth. But the bottom line was there was a plan that mathed out pretty simply, and matter of fact, on a calculator for that individual. And this plan was, if we utilize strategies and financial knowledge properly, and we leverage the equity that had built up in that real estate and make some plays, rather than just sit with equity while paying this house down, paying this house down, paying this. No, it has a lot of equity. Let's create our first lever arm. Can help us advance ourselves to becoming wealthy far quicker than trying to push it on our own with our own hands. We need leverage. So that equity in that house was leverage. By making some different plays. What's up, Andy? By making some different plays, that individual within the 15-year time period could not only have the house paid off like the original plan was, but by using the right leverage, that individual could also have $1 million in the bank alongside the paid off house. So, oh, cool. The replays were emailed out. That's awesome. That is awesome. Very cool. So, yeah, I guess the replay is available. If you didn't get to the cash flow conference, I think we're selling the replay for like $47, where you still get all the speakers and all the information that we went over in the weekend. Just don't get to attend live. But let's see here. But interesting. Interesting that somebody who owed around 400,000 on their house, they owed 400 grand. House was worth 900 grand. They had 15 years left to pay on their mortgage. And the goal was to have a paid off house in 15 years. And that was going to help them with their financial life immensely. Yes, because they would now no longer have to pay this mortgage payment every month. And that was the thing, right? Well, here I am paying this payment every month. And if I pay off my house, then I won't have to make that monthly mortgage payment anymore. And boy, that'll free me up and I'll have a much better financial life. Well, true. But that person could also make some plays and leverage their equity instead of just letting the equity sit there. Leverage that equity, make some smart financial investments, which we pinned out on paper. And that person could have the paid off house and $1 million in the bank. So all we're saying, guys, is financial intelligence doesn't have to do with sitting on leverageable capital. If you have leverageable capital, like equity in a house, it's fictitious money that can disappear in the next market crash as if it were never there. Well, if equity is there, and you have the ability to leverage that and put that money to work, bottom line, guys, he was borrowing money in an equity line of credit for like 6%. We were showing him how to buy these notes at like 14% and do some note flips and some things like that over the course of those 15 years. And the guy could have easily $1 million in the bank plus a paid off house by using the leverage that he had available. So having this paid off house could be a bit of a financial myth. How about get a good job and work your way up the corporate ladder? Right? Get a good job with a good company and stay there and work your butt off. Create a good retirement plan for yourself with your job, right? Invest in the IRA and the pension. You guys know what I'm talking about? Did you ever hear? I know my parents, I was an entrepreneur for a long time, and my parents used to always say, son, why are you doing all this? Why are you taking all this risk? Why are you trying all this stuff? You know, there's no stability to that entrepreneurial life. Why don't you go get a good job at a good company? That kind of stuff, right? We heard that. So go get a good job and work your way up the corporate ladder and bust your ass until you're 65 years old or whatever. And then finally retire on this great individual retirement account or pension stuff. You guys have heard this stuff? Any of your parents ever said, why don't you go get a real job? You heard that before? Why don't you go get a real job? Can you believe that? A real job. So maybe these lessons weren't so great. Okay. They meant the best for us. They said they don't want us to fail, like grandparents and parents and uncles. And they didn't want us to fail, right? Be homeless and all this stuff. So they didn't want us to take any risks. The family and the friends, they always just wanted us to do something that was safe in their minds. The safe play and the play we were taught after the war was to go get a good job. Well, why were we taught to go get a good job? Because the factories and all the places needed people like us to work there. So if we weren't taught and brainwashed to go get a good job and work the 40-40 plan, which is 40 hours a week for 40 years of your life and then maybe retire, that was what we were bled, because they needed to convince us that was the great life, the American dream, to get this good full-time job and bust your ass there all day long, working for the factories and working for the stuff that needed workers. And that was a lesson that was taught. And so the people that were taught that lesson went out and got these jobs and so on. And we saw how the retirements turned out for these folks. The pensions and the retirement income that these folks are getting. Guys, listen, do we realize the cost of inflation, the cost of medication, the cost of housing, the cost of transportation, all rises like crazy with this inflation. And the retired people's incomes don't rise. You hear them keep saying we're on a fixed income. Well, if people retire in their elder years and then have to live off of a fixed income, times change quickly. Things get more expensive. Well, their fixed income when they're retired doesn't increase with inflation to make sure that the old person can take care of themselves and pay for their medications. No, the medications and the expenses just rise and rise and rise, and their little retirement fixed income stays the same. And it makes life very difficult for people who have worked 40 years of their life, 40 hours a week, and slaved away to the system to make sure they can retire in their golden years, and now they can't. So we see the cliche of the people that are still working in McDonald's and Walmarts and things like that, wherever they can get a job as a door greeter or what have you, to keep up their bills, at 75 years old, 80 years old. It's wild, right? Be an ant for the grasshopper. Oh, yes, I've been down real bad hearing that. I've had a great opportunity that was essentially thrown in the trash years ago due to this mindset. Yep. 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 Yeah. And the mindset, it's wild, right, guys? So this whole get a good job thing is now a little outdated. Okay. Even people's income, think about it, the people that do have a good job, the people that do have a good job, they've done what they were supposed to do and they've gone out and gotten a really good job. They're making a very good level of income. They've made it, so to speak. The current amount of raises that people get per year in the corporate world in a management position or whatever, sometimes you get a review each year and you get a little bit of a raise, right? So every year, if you've done well, you get a raise. They pay a little more. They pay a little more. So giving these little raises, guys, the raises people are getting are not keeping up with the raising of costs of goods and services in the industry right now. So inflation is outpacing people's raises. And so people with corporate jobs with high levels of income are actually getting poorer and poorer each year. And then when people retire, how many years from now are we going to retire? So people say, well, when I retire 15 years from now, thank goodness I'm going to have about $4,000 a month coming in for retirement income. That should do. Well, no, because the same uh, goods and services in the marketplace that $4,000 right now can purchase won't purchase that same amount of crap 15 years from now. So it's going to be a different retirement. You see what I'm saying? So these old plans are just kind of fickle anymore. They don't work. So this whole get a good job thing, it's good to have a good job, guys. I'm not dogging, having a good job, but getting this mentality of going and getting a good job and a high paying income and then just staying there and thinking your raises and your level of income is going to take care of you, pay your bills, take care of your retirement, all that stuff. It just ain't gonna happen. That's old news. That's old news. It doesn't work anymore. Inflation is outpacing raises. Inflation is outpacing folks' ability to survive in retirement. With that fixed income, because the price of goods and the price of medicines and the price of medical care, that's not fixed. Then when people have a fixed income and the price of medical and medication and living and groceries and everything else is going up, it's going to put people in a pinch. Yeah. So I feel really bad for people that are going to start retiring here in the next 5 and 10 and 15 years. Folks that have had this plan, so to speak, a little, like my age, I'm 46, like my age and older, right? People in their 50s right now that are planning to retire at 65. Good luck. The old plan probably ain't going to cut it. Oh, how about this one, guys? This is another one. How about this mindset? This is one I had difficulty overcoming myself, which is excuse me, live below your means. Yeah. Um, this whole live below your means thing. Um, do you guys know why? And I'm guys, some of these have validity to them. Okay, so that's why I'm saying it's very difficult to get rid of the brainwashing, because is there some validity when people say, you should probably start living below your means and stop spending all your money? Yeah, there's validity to that. Sure, it's called financial budgeting in that. But the mindset of having to live below your means is a bad mindset. Do you guys know why? Yep. The parents pressing hard on abandoning a way out of slavery really screwed me. Yep. Yep, yep, yep. Yeah, it's the mindset stuff, guys. But why is it, guys, that this is bad advice? Why is it, guys, that live below your means? Why is that in a lot of ways bad advice? Well, I'll tell you the other mindset. I'll say the other mindset, right? Has anybody in your family ever said, "We can't get that. That's too what? What's the word? Oh, we can't buy that. That's too what? Fill in the blank." Have we all heard it? Oh, we can't get that. That's too expensive. We can't afford that. That's too expensive. We can't have that. That is the that is the live below your means mindset. What it does to you, it gives you limited beliefs on if you can grow or if you can if you're soon going to be able to afford those things. You certainly won't if your mindset says that you can't have those things. The reason you can't have those things is because they're too expensive. You can't afford them. That is a very limited mindset. And when you talk to yourself that way, this is an easy thing to continue to perpetuate. Yeah, you can't have that. No, we can't get those things. Those are too expensive. We've all heard the same damn thing. So live below your means. Sure, they're saying, look, have a financial budget, you nitwit. You don't even know how much money you're making and how much money you're spending, and you always seem broke, but you always have new shoes. Okay, we get it. So having a budget, guys, is economics 101. Okay. If people are working for minimum wage, they still need to know how much they're making, how much their bills are, these kind of things. That's just budgeting. So they should have just said, hey, make sure you always maintain a budget and make sure you know where your money's going. That would have been better. But live below your means is a problem. It starts to create a mindset of inferiority. Is that the right way to say that? No, inferiority. Inferiority. Inferiority is what it creates. That you're inferior to the people that can afford those things, and that you can't, and you shouldn't dream to because you can't afford it. This is bad advice, bad mindset. We can't buy that because it's too expensive. You see what I mean? We can't. This is all bad, negative stuff. Oh, we can't get that, honey. We're not like those rich folks. We can't afford those things. We don't have enough money. We can't, it's too expensive. I can't buy that for you. It's too expensive. We can't afford it. So, this is the mindset that we've been bled. Now, what do you guys think would be a better take in life, a better thing to say, a better way to teach our kids? What do you think would be a better thing? To live below your means, to understand that you can't afford those things, or how can I get that thing? What can I do differently to afford that thing? That's a different mindset. It's not that you can't have it because it's unattainable or unaffordable. It's not even close. How come other people can afford it? How come other people can get it? Just you can't. That doesn't make any sense at all. So the idea would be regular mindset would be, how can I afford that? What can I do to get that? That's a better mindset. It starts to have some sort of thought process of creativity, and your body says, you can get it. It's just going to take something different. It's going to take a new move, a different mindset, a different angle of attack. And I know I can get that thing if I really want it. That's a different mindset. So can you get the big house? Can you get the big car? Can you get the nice clothes? Can you get the good vacations? Can you get the chance to spend more time with your kids? Can you get the stuff you want? Certainly you can. Absolutely 100%. We can go for it and we can create it and make it happen. We can get that thing. But our parents would say, no, you can't get that thing. Those things are only for like rich people, and we're not those people. You see what I'm saying? That's a bad mindset, guys. Really horrible. So we're going to do some more sets here of the seated rows. And we're going to talk about another one, which is invest for the long term and don't worry about it, and diversify everything. These are two separate ones, but both have some validity. So how about this? Put your money in an investment and forget about it. They call it the set it and forget it. Yeah, there you go. Dexter says, ask to have a lunch meeting or a coffee meeting with the person that has that thing and ask them how they got it. Great idea, right? The good thing about adult life and financial life is that we can plagiarize and we can copy, whereas that's another thing we were taught not to do. So if we were in school, you're in junior high, you're in high school and college, if you plagiarize somebody else's work, means you copy them. And if you sit next to somebody during a test and look over and copy their answers, bad, 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 bad. No cheating, they said. Yeah. No, you cannot copy someone else's answers. No. Well, what about in the financial world now when we're trying to build wealth as adults? Does that shit still stand? No. Matter of fact, like Dexter's saying, it better you find somebody that has the financial life you wish you could have and lunch with them and ask them how the hell they got it and start to copy some of the shit they did. There's a cheat code for you. So, do I teach everything I know about note investing at my Note Investor University and tell you that you can copy the playbook and that you can do exactly the same things I do and you can cheat right off of my paper and use it and go do it? Certainly. That's the real world. This ain't school anymore, Toto. So yeah, we can get advice from other people that have done it. And we can actually start to play copycat in many ways. And then the other one, guys, is diversification. Ah, shoot. I can assume it was the American dream, the easy way to having a home and family and a beautiful wife who isn't corrupted and confused by media. Yeah, man. The idea of the American dream was this, guys, that prior to the 1930s, when you looked at the real estate market in the United States, prior to the 1930s, the real estate market was for the wealthy and affluent. So I don't know if you guys knew that, but um, they used to do 5-year mortgage loans. Okay. So, in order to buy a house back then and be a homeowner, so to speak, in order to buy a home back then, you had to come up with 50% deposit. So, however much the house was worth, you had to have half of that money in cash. So, you used to do a 50% deposit. That's number one. And number two, they would finance the other half for you, but it was a 5-year loan. And that's how real estate was bought back then. Okay. So you'll see why only the wealthy families and the affluent families were the owners and everybody else was a renter, basically. So then they propagated the American dream. The American dream was everybody, all the middle class, deserved to own their own home and have their own nice car. We know you guys at your middle class income can't afford this crap, though. We get it. So we're going to be the savior to everybody so that you can have this American dream and come and buy come into the banks, come on into the banks to get a bunch of loans so that you can go buy a bunch of stuff that you can't afford because you know what? You should. Every man and woman, all you guys deserve the American dream. You deserve the house with the picket fence and, the wife with the apron and the heels out front. And they advertised it like crazy. We all know those advertisements. The lady outside with the sundress on and the apron, ready to go inside and make lemonade for the dad who's outside working in the driveway on the 57 Chevy with the house and the picket fence. You guys know exactly what I'm talking about because you guys have been brainwashed that just like I have. So you remember these, yeah? These ads and these pictures of this dream life, right? Well, they propagated the American dream, of course, guys, so that we would all start running into the banks to borrow money to buy shit that we couldn't afford. So that's when they took a mortgage and they stretched it out to 30 years. And FHA said you could give a 3 to 5% down payment. So you can give a 3 to 5% down payment, finance the other 95% of the cost of the house. And to be able to afford that kind of thing, they'll stretch the loan out to 30 years long, not 5, 30 years long, so that you can have an affordable payment. Now you can own a house at a middle class income. And also, guess what? If you work your ass off, and you have a good job with a good income and all that, you can also probably afford a monthly payment on an auto loan. And so we'll take the house loan that's 5 years and we'll take that to a car. And we'll give you an auto loan that's 5 years long, and that you should be able to afford that car and that house. Looky there. Oh man. And everybody bid into it and we all ran in there and we still do it today, right? So now everybody goes into the bank and begs for loans to buy shit they can't afford because they think that they need to have a nice house and a nice car. And that was the American dream. It was propagated, and boy, who did it benefit? Us or the banks? So, anyways, get off that soapbox. Now, how about this investing your money and being extraordinarily diversified? Extreme diversification is the key. Anybody ever heard that one? Leave it to Beaver life. Yeah, for sure. The leave it to Beaver life. Exactly. The house with the backyard and the, exactly. We were sold this American dream, believe it or not. Okay. It was one of the largest advertising campaigns that went on for 10 or 20 years, and it worked. Okay. So, this American dream thing, yeah, we'll put that one to bed. What about this over diversification? Have you ever seen, look, the people who really win in life with their investment portfolio, those people are the ones that are very diversified. You ever heard that? Who's heard that? The ones that are really going to win with their investment portfolio are the people who are smart enough to be really diversified. Now, I get it. As an investor, you never want to have all your eggs in one basket. Understood. But what do you think? Why do you think this whole diversification thing was propagated and sold to us? Why do you think that this diversification thing was sold to us? And why do you think that it may be sort of false advice? Well, one of the reasons why, guys, is because they stripped. My dad still says that and loses all the time. Well, because your dad is from the mindset there, which this was bled into him so hard that he would have to very much work diligently to get his mindset to shift, which is hard, right? Guys, we were programmed, especially our dads and grandpas. Oh boy. So that's what they know to be true. Okay. Diversification is the key. And why? Because you never lose a lot, you hope. You never win a lot, you hope, but it's safe. You see what I'm saying? They think it's safer the more diversified you are. Well, here's the real deal. Diversification was created once again for who? Us and our safety and all, or the banks and the lending institutions and the stock markets and the financial markets? Who's it benefit? Well, to be diversified, you have to be invested into quite a few different investments. And every time you invest money into an investment, the firms in them get trading fees, don't they? Every time they move your money for you, place you in a new investment, trade this for that, they're making money all the while, whether you win or lose. So, diversification was always taught for another reason, to be smart, because they stripped the generations of any financial intelligence. Our grandparents and our parents and us and our generation, now even our kids, okay? So that's 4 generations now that are not taught any financial intelligence whatsoever. Actually stripped of it, made more stupid, and made to go to college to get a good job to work the 40-40 plan. Still being propagated. You guys understand that that's the plan for everybody. Go to school all day long, learn a bunch of shit you'll never use in life, go even pay lots of money to go do it further. People are getting these communications degrees and all this stuff. And what are you going to use your communications degree for? I don't know. I just got a degree though. So now they're out in the job world and they spent 250 grand on student loan. It's nuts, guys. It's nuts. It's all designed to make slaves, lifetime debt slaves that have no financial intelligence. Well, if you don't have any financial intelligence and you have no idea what to invest money in, then extreme diversification is probably smart. Okay. Okay. But extreme diversification doesn't create any type of compounding, any type of big wins, any type of leverage. All it does is create either a steady, stagnant growth of 3 or 4% if you're lucky, sometimes 5 or 6% if you have a good advisor, and so on. But people don't realize when they're making that 6% return, they're saying that's pretty good and it's safe and they brag about it. But how much of that is dilapidated and is sucked out of there by fees each year when they're trading things and making moves on that customer's behalf? So essentially, guys, most people's retirement growth that's diversified is not outpacing inflation right now. So you guys know inflation is higher than 4% per year right now. Okay. So the cost of eggs, the cost of any type of goods, anything we buy, textiles, t-shirts, a pair of shoes, anything, guys, they're increasing at more than 4% per year right now in cost inflation. And so if someone's whole nest egg that they've built up their whole lives is invested in a diversified manner where it's only earning 4%. Do you do you guys, does it make any sense to you that if inflation is rising more than 4% and your retirement account is not increasing more than 4%, your retirement money is actually losing value each year? So so these old school plans, guys, of diversify because you don't know any better. Yeah, work with a financial advisor and a stockbroker over there, and make sure you're well diversified so you're not at risk. Make sure you're safe. But this is because people have no financial intelligence. They don't know alternative investing. They don't know where they can invest their money. They're too busy working the 40-40 plan, trying to build up that retirement. They're stuck in the matrix, man. And they're hoping that all this is going to work out. And when they're 65 years old, they're going to have at least a few $1,000,000 to retire on, and life's going to be good. Woo, we see how that's working out for everybody, don't we? How's that working out for everybody? You know what I mean? God, I love my hat head in the mornings. It's getting hot in here. It's getting hot in here. All right. I'm gonna turn this fan on real quick, y'all. It's getting a little warm in the dungeon. Oh, that's gonna be nice. You know, this custom gym comes with its own high-tech air cooling system. That's how advanced my home gym is right there, just so you know. Just so you know. Too funny. Some more seated rows, getting the biceps, getting the back, and everything a little beefed up this morning. Feels good. So diversification is for fools. Can we agree? Diversification is for fools that have no idea what they're doing with their money, which is most people. So there you have it. But it's good for the banks. It's good for the traders. It's good for the stockbrokers. It's good for the lending institutions because they make fees and they make trade fees and they make a bunch of money whether we win or lose. And a lot of our money gets eaten up that way. It's not money that's earning returns for us. It's money that goes to the folks for doing the trades and placing us in these investments and that. And it's just that old plan, guys. We realize a lot of these things have been able to benefit Wall Street, benefit the banking institutions, benefit the cartels, and keep us down in a place of financial slavery where we all just waste our lives working for them. Isn't that right? When actual slavery ended, when we could actually own people, when that ended, they figured out a different way to do it. So it's financial slavery, and a lot of us are stuck in it, and we got to break the hell out of it. So, how about this, guys? This is another one. Wow, does this really have to jack up people's mindsets? Let me tell you something. Here's what jacks up people's mindsets. People think, and I get this all the time, all the time. People think that they need to have a whole bunch of their own money to start being an investor. And I get it. If you look up the definition of the term investor, it is one who invests money. So I understand when people say, "Oh, Patrick, but how am I going to be an investor? And how am I going to buy assets? And how am I going to become wealthy, man? I'm just living paycheck to paycheck. I ain't got no money to buy nothing." This is one of the hardest ones to break free from, you guys, because that's really one of the hardest brainwashed positions we've been put in, guys. Let me ask you a question. Do you guys remember a song? Do you guys remember a song? And you know that when Hollywood, when Hollywood makes songs about it, stuff like that, we get it is to aid in the programming. If you guys haven't figured that out yet, but how about this song? I work hard for my. You tell me. Is there a song about it? I work hard for my what? You tell me. I work hard for my what? What's the word? Hmm. Damn songs written about it. What are they? What do you work hard for? I work hard for my money. I work hard for my money. Yep. So you better treat me right, or I'm leaving you and possibly taking half your shit. Classic, classic. But straight up, guys, they make songs about it, guys. I work hard for my money. Uh, uh. Mm. So what are we supposed to do to get money, guys? What's the only way you're supposed to get money? Huh? To work hard for it, you little slave. Yeah. Oh gosh. So hard work. Oh yes. The harder you work, the more money you'll have. You're not working hard enough. Why don't you get a second and a third job? Oh shit. I'm on one today. I wasn't feel like working out. Now that I got my sets in, my little sips of coffee, I'm rocking and rolling. But isn't that funny? Work hard for your money. Woo. Break your back. Hard work pays off. Come on, are you telling me we haven't heard this stuff? The more overtime you put in, the more money you make. God, you don't need. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm gonna stop going off on this one, but oh shit, do we get it? Oh, you should get another job or request more hours. When was the last time you humbled yourself and embarrassed yourself and groveled on your knees? When was the last time you went and asked your boss for a raise? You work hard there. You've been there for years. I suggest you go in and sit down, sit your boss down and tell him you demand a raise. Oh my God. Yeah. You know what your boss is gonna do? You know what? You're right. And gee, inflation seems to be around 7 or 8% right now. Huh. Each year I should give you a 10% raise because you do work hard here and you do show up all the time every day. Yeah. I'm going to give you a 10% per year raise in your pay. Just keep working here, man. Not going to happen. More overtime. Oh, goddamn. See, we're taught to be slaves, literally. You guys are seeing this right here today. We have been taught to be slaves and to think as slaves. Okay, so guys, do you need a lot of money to invest? Do you need a lot of money do you need a lot of money of your own saved up before you can go buy your first rental property? Do you need a lot of money saved up before you can go buy your first mortgage note? Do you need a lot of money saved up before you can start a syndication in order to go buy an apartment building in your town? Do you need a lot of money before you can go buy a piece of land and start being a land investor? Do you need a lot of your money saved up to go do that or no? Is that a fallacy? The only time I've seen that work was when our skilled technicians said they found a better paying job and it would work. But that's in their case, lol. No, guys, and I'm not dogging. Listen, by the way, I'm not dogging people that work hard. I'm not dogging people that want to go get a better job and a more higher paying income or any of that. We got to make money. Okay, we got to make money. But aside from making money, that's where people stop. You see, and everybody increases the level of their lifestyle as soon as they get a little bit of a higher paying job. So it's always this race and this working for the man and us being financial slaves. Period. It just is that way. So I'm not dogging that stuff. That's normal. But we got to start thinking differently in order for us to make changes and act differently, right? It all happens in here first, and we got to start having different thought processes, different mindset, different way of thinking, okay? Than we were taught. We have to expand our mind a little bit. And when our mind grows a little bit and we see things in a different light, you can attack things in a different manner, correct? So this is just mindset training today, right? Guys, you do not need a lot of your own money to invest. I've heard so many people say, I'm going to make a move in a few years here. Listen to this. I'm going to make a move in a few years here because I figured out how much I can save. And I've been doing that and it's working. So I'm starting to build up this savings account. When I finally save up $50,000, I'm going to make a move, man. And it looks like 2 or 3 years from now, I'm going to be able to, take my 50 grand, make a down payment on a rental property, and I'll get my first rental, and I'll start moving from there. And oftentimes they continue to try to save that 50 grand year after year after year. An emergency happens, the car breaks down, the who knows what. All of a sudden, this money gets chunked and eaten away, and all of a sudden, it's a never-ending battle to try to save them, and they never do a deal. Hey, Blaster, your messages, the last two got restricted. I can't see them, so I just don't know what you typed or why it would have got restricted. But have a good day, NJ. Have a good day. I'm talking too much nonsense. Just taking that stuff off the comment board. This is part of my problem. I dwell on someone else's life. Well, if you realize it's a problem, we're starting to make changes then, aren't we? That's the good thing. If we realize we got issues, we can start to make changes. Jim Rohn said, we're not a tree. Jim Rohn said, we're not trees, right? Trees are rooted where they're at. So if danger's coming their way, they're screwed. They can't move, can't make moves, right? A tree's just sitting there. Whatever comes in that tree's path, the tree's got to deal with that. Period. That's the life of a tree because they're rooted. We can make moves, you guys. We're human beings. We can switch things up real quick. We can make a move. We can make a change. We can flip things around real quick and go to a different place, a different environment, mentally, physically. So it means that we don't have to just sit there like a tree and be rooted and wait for danger to come smack us, okay? So you don't need a lot of your own money to go out there and build wealth. You need skills. You need skills, okay? Let me ask you a question. For an art teacher, maybe a painting expert, someone who's a really good painter. Remember Bob Ross? Okay. I used to love Bob Ross, right? Painting happy little trees. And his trees needed a friend. And so he would put another tree next to a tree because all trees need friends out there in the forest. Bob Ross with the afro, super funny. But do you think that an extremely good artist or a painting instructor, do you think that they would need to have a ton of money of their own before they would go and start an art school to teach other people how to paint well? Not really. All they would need is their supplies and their skills, and they would have to go and turn on a camera or get an audience in front of them and start teaching. And they could charge money for this, can't they? Could a painting instructor charge lots of money for you to come and learn how to paint as an expert because they would teach you? So is it the painter's skills, earned skills, that allow them now to have a skill to attract money, right? As an art instructor or painting teacher. So they didn't have to have a bunch of money to make a move to start their art school and teach people. They just had to have the skills and the materials and then advertise that they're going to teach people, okay? And people gravitate towards their skills because there's amateur painters that would love to pay somebody who's an expert to teach them some techniques to become a better painter. So it's the skills of the artist that allows them to be a moneymaker with that skill. So let me ask you a question. In real estate investing, in getting your first rental property, buying a 16-unit apartment complex, buying some mortgage notes up for cash flow, whatever lane that you would pick, do you think it's more important for you to sit around and wait years for you to save up enough money to make a move? Or do you think it's more important for you to elevate your skills very quickly so that you can become valuable to investors? See, the artist became very valuable to amateur painters that want to learn better. Well, somebody who's very good in the real estate investing space, skill-wise, a deal maker, becomes very valuable to investors that want to invest passively and don't want to be an expert in the real estate investment space. So you don't need a lot of your own money to invest, okay? It's another fallacy. How about this? How about this one? Avoid debt. You don't want to get into debt. Pay off all your debts. You don't want debt. Debt equals bad. You guys heard that one? All right, Andy, we'll see you, buddy. Who's heard debt is bad? You got to get out of debt. Can't have any debt. Debt is bad. That's another fallacy. Debt and leverage is one of the ways that the wealthy keep getting wealthier. Being in good debt. We've all heard debt is bad. You don't want debt. You don't want debt. Well, there's difference here, guys. We have bad debt and good debt. We're not really taught that, okay? We're only taught that debt is bad. Debt is a curse word. Debt, that word, run from it. Get yourself away from it. Get out of there. Debt, danger. That's what we're taught, right? Some validity to that. Again, if there's no validity, then these lessons wouldn't be able to be perpetrated down generations. There's validity to that because you want to run from bad debt. You don't want to be in bad debt, okay? You don't want to finance liabilities, okay? Which they taught us to do with the American dream. Jesus Christ. They taught us to go run down there and finance bad debt. That's what they taught us, generation after generation. Finance bad debt. Go down there and finance liabilities and be a slave to debt. Yeah. So bad debt is bad. Okay. But what about good debt? No one talks about that shit. No one talks about that shit. What about good debt? Is there good debt? Is there good debt versus bad debt? Well, sure then. Good debt is leveraged to create net worth, and good debt is leveraged to create cash flow. Debt is not all bad. So here's the magic ATM theory, okay? Question I have for you. Call it the magic ATM machine. So here's the setup. I don't know where you live around the country, but every place has got like a 7-Eleven or something, right? Like a 7-Eleven or a convenience store, an AM, PM, a 7-Eleven, whatever it is. So outside the 7-Eleven or outside this convenience store stands this magic ATM machine. And the reason it's a magic ATM machine is that you don't put your debit card in and get money out. That's not how the machine works. In fact, you have to put money into it. Okay. So what happens with this ATM machine is you put $20 into the ATM machine. And when you take $20 and put it in there, it spits out 40. Okay. It's a magic ATM machine. If you put $20 into it, it spits out 40. Magic. Okay. Well, the question I always have for people is, if you found this magic ATM machine where you could put $20 into it and it would spit you out 40, my question to everybody is, how long would you stand in front of that ATM machine shoving $20 bills into it? The story of the magic ATM machine. If you could put a $20 bill into an ATM machine and it would spit you out 40, how long would you stand in front of that ATM machine sticking 20s into it, right? Blaster indefinitely until the damn thing ran out of money, right? Certainly, no brainer. So how do we describe good debt then? Good debt is similar to the magic ATM machine, okay? If I borrow $20 from somebody, and then, because let's say you go to that ATM machine and you're like, damn, dude, I found the magic ATM machine. I know how it works. I've seen it work. I know I can repeat it. I can do that. I can put a $20 bill into there and then have it spit out 40 to me. I get it. So there's people out here in the world, they don't know about the magic ATM machine. You found it. You know where it's at. They don't know. So what if I just said to somebody, hey man, could I borrow $20 from you? Yeah, well, what do you need it for? Don't worry about it. I just need to borrow $20, but I promise you, by the end of today, I'm going to pay you back double your money. So if you let me borrow $20 now, by the end of today, I'm going to come back to you and pay you back $40. You'll double your money. Would that private lender, or the person letting you borrow the $20, would that be a good deal for them if they didn't know about the magic ATM machine? So how would it work out for you? Would you be able to take their borrowed $20 and go keep sticking the $20 into the ATM machine and spitting out 20s for yourself all the while? And when it's all said and done, you would take all that money, go back to the person, let you borrow the original 20, pay them back their 40. They'd be super happy, probably let you borrow $20 again anytime you ask. You doubled their money. You borrowed 20, you gave them back 40. But by borrowing their $20, because you know about the magic ATM machine over here, you're able to use the borrowed money to go and facilitate what you know how to do in the magic ATM machine. How much money is that going to produce for you off someone else's borrowed money? And you can always take all your winnings then and go back and pay them back the original 20 they lent you plus a profit, can't you? And they'll be happy they lent you the money. You knew about the magic ATM machine. So when I found out about like mortgage note investing, I look at mortgage note investing as like a magic ATM machine, literally. So rather than sit around and wait 2, 3, 4 years, enough to where I saved up my own money to go and buy my first note, no, I wanted to do it quickly and start building wealth and passive cash flow. So I learned the skills of how the magic ATM machine operates. I learned the skills of the mortgage note investing space and how it all works, right? I got my skills up to a certain level. I knew about this magic ATM machine and how it operated. So my goal was then to go borrow 20 bucks from somebody so that I could come back to this magic ATM machine and do what I know how to do with it and then go pay them back and keep the rest for myself. You could borrow money from somebody else again, couldn't you? And go back to that. As long as that magic ATM machine exists and continues spitting out $20 bills, you could continue to repeat that process. So if you guys want to go buy a single family rental property, a duplex, an apartment building, you guys want to buy a mortgage note, you guys want to do any of this stuff, it's the skills and the expertise that should be taught as being the value. Yeah. Money is always the value. This money that is hard to get, that you have to work hard for. You have to ask for a raise. You have to work years at a place. So you have to slave away to get this money. No, wrong. You have skills, you can get the money tomorrow. So, anyways, just these fallacies, guys, the mindset fallacies. So, we don't want to avoid all debt, we want to avoid bad debt. We want to avoid bad debt. We don't want to finance liabilities. We want to finance things that produce wealth and produce cash flow where there's a spread. So, good debt says if I could borrow someone's money at, say, 8% return to them, that's a good deal for them. I borrow money and pay somebody 8% return on their money. I take the borrowed money and I use my skills and knowing about the magic ATM machine over here, and I take that money and I go put it to work at 14%. If I'm paying a lender 8% and I'm using the money to make 14%, then the difference between 8 and 14% is mine because of my skills, my know how, and the ability to operate the magic ATM machine. Haha, there you have it. So we got to get rid of these limiting beliefs. Hang on one second. My little daughter might be moving around. Hold on. Quick break. Okay. Whew. Oh yeah, this is funny too, huh? When I moved into this house, I thought this is the only house in my life that's ever had pillars, pillars in the living room. So silly. I got pillars in my living room, getting it on. Thought I heard my little 2-year-old getting up, and wifey just took the 7-year-old to school. So I gotta mind them little ones. All right. Who needs pillars in their living room, by the way? What the fuck is that? All right. So skills are your best friend. All these old financial lessons that were bled now to us for 3 generations are hogwash. Some of the plans that maybe used to work 50s, 60s, and 70s with the way the economy was and how things were going, they were better plans than people had because they weren't taught anything in school. So when they got out of school as stupid debt slaves, they were passed along these plans that maybe had a little bit of validity back then, but now no longer. Yes, Blaster, mortgage notes make you the bank, and therefore you can make interest from your partial loaned amount. Yeah, the idea is you're buying someone's mortgage, and I buy mortgage debt at a discount. And so you're basically buying a payment stream, right? If somebody has 20 years left on their mortgage, I'm paying the lender a certain amount of cash to take over that mortgage and for me to collect the next 20 years of it. And all the while, you have the house as your collateral. So you do definitely step into the shoes of the bank. That is how it works. But let's try to get rid of some of these financial myths, guys. Nothing's too expensive for you. You just need to figure out how to make more money. Nothing's too expensive. You just don't make enough money. So you got to think differently of how can we do things different? How can we make money differently? Okay. It's not going to be a W-2 job. That ain't going to get you there. W-2 job may pay your bills, allow you to have a cell phone, eat food, and have a place to stay? Certainly. So we don't want to just quit our job and, nothing like that. But can we start learning something new? Start changing our mindset? Start getting around different people with different thought processes? Start to learn from mentors that actually have some financial intelligence? Start to shed some of these old thoughts, these old mindsets? Bleed ourselves into becoming a different person slowly but surely? Certainly. I'm living proof that you can become someone totally different in a very short amount of time. Okay. I went from sales manager, 50-hour-a-week slave, to being a millionaire in real estate investing um, within 6.5 years. And I know darn well we've all worked, some of us, the same damn job for the last 6.5 years, and nothing's changed. So 6.5 years goes by pretty damn quick. But I've seen people drastically change their lives, guys, physically, like I did. I had zero muscles. I had a beer belly and looked like shit 2 years ago. Not saying I look great now, but it's a lot better. Okay. So we make improvements. Disciplined improvements over time will change who you are in a short amount of time. Just a few years, people won't recognize you. So if we work on our physical self, we work on our financial abilities, we expand our knowledge of how to be healthy, how to eat better, how to work out more, and we stay disciplined, it's obvious, guys, that we can change our body metabolically. We can change our muscle tone, we can change our metabolism, we can drop the fat, we can look better, we can feel more confident, we can have more energy. We can build it on purpose physically. Living proof. The other thought process of financial, we can change things. Remember, we're not trees rooted. We don't have to stay where we're at ever. We can make moves. Things don't happen overnight, but it starts with a shift in mindset. It starts with a change in mentality, trying to shed some of the old lessons we were taught that may have been valid for generations 50 years ago. But in today's economy, in the cryptocurrency world, in the deflation of the fiat currencies and what's happening right now in the world, guys, inflation is nasty. It's only going to get worse. They turn the printing machine on like nuts over the next 2 years, and the spending power of the dollar gets even less. So what are we doing, guys, to maybe make different moves than our parents were taught? What are we doing to think alternatively? How are we thinking about leverage? How do you associate skills with value? Not always money that depicts if somebody's valuable or not, but oftentimes it's the skills and the know-how. So, guys, it was a fun time. We'll be back here tomorrow, 6:45 to 8 a.m., right here in my little garage gym, physical and financial fitness with Patrick. We'll have a new subject to speak on, and I'm going to finish my workout. So we'll see you guys later. Ciao.